Alright, we're going to be taking a look at the card list for Palworld TCG Trial Deck Green and Purple. First card here, Masanda Guard Captain. Masanda Guard Captain, it's a 5-cost, 900 power, 2-strike grass pal. It's a vanilla, so there's really not much to say about this guy. It's got a pretty nice set of work suitabilities: harvesting, crafting, collecting, transporting, but it seems to be the headliner of the deck. Yeah, it has 3 different rarities just like our other headliners, but it doesn't have an ability, which, you know, it's kind of strange. But the SR artwork and the super premium artwork looks fantastic. Mark my words, I think that maybe there might be like grass specific support in the future. I think Masanda might be broken. In fact, I'm calling it right now. Masanda is going to be a broken pal in the future. Mark my words. You heard it from Nico first. Next, we got Gumas, Dreamy Seedling. 2-cost, 300 power, 1-strike. This is just like the other one, just like Jolt Hog. It's just like a 2-drop that you want to just play down immediately. Nothing surprising. Looks cool. Harvesting trait. Next, we have Floppy. Floppy or Floppy. Snack Lover. 3-cost. 400 power, 1-strike. It has on deploy get 2, looks like a apple. So here we have what appears to be another piece of resource in the Palworld trading card game. Just like the wood from the red side, in the green side we have, I'm assuming maybe it's fruit, maybe it's food or something like that. And I'm assured that you're going to be able to consume this resource to activate other abilities, just like the wood part in red and blue. Next up we have, oh, it's just the SR. So it has an SR version, so it might be a very prominent card in the future, Floppy. And then we have Dynasum Radiant Fragrance, a 4-cost, 400 power, 2-strike, underwhelming stats. But it looks like this is your interrupt pal for the grass deck, for the green deck rather. Just like Fox Parks and just like, what's the other one? What blue one was Calendrix, whatever the deer thing is. 4-drop it quick. Again, you want to keep these cards in your hand so you have some kind of defense against your opponent, especially if they're going aggressive against you. And then after that, we have Ekthyrdeer Terra, Guardian of Nature. That's a tongue twister. Ekthyrdeer Terra is a 6-cost, 800 power, 2-strike pal, decent stats. It has the continuous ability called Taunt. Your opponent cannot attack other targets if a card with Taunt can be targeted for an attack. So this is a new ability that we've seen. Taunt, basically it means that as long as Ekthyrdeer Terra is on the field, your opponent has to target this, but only if it can be targeted, right? If your opponent cannot attack other targets, so it's card. Okay, yeah. So as long as Ekthyrdeer can be targeted, you have to target it. So for example, if Ekthyrdeer is standing, that means it's vertical. Pals cannot attack this. So the taunt won't work unless you're dealing with something that has assault, like Grisbald, the red card. Grisbald can attack this, and so it must attack this, even if it's standing. But if this card is horizontal, so it's resting, that means it can be attacked by every pal, and so therefore it must be attacked by any pal that can attack it. Right? Makes sense? It also has the act ability, Consume 2 fruit. So there we go. So there's our first ability that consumes the food. And then this card gets 500 power until end of turn, so it becomes a 1300 if you spend 2 fruit. Okay. So it can run into something, take it out. It can survive since you've powered it up, and then it has Taunt. So now you can't attack the base, you have to attack this guy. 800 power on your opponent's turn. You know, it's not like it's the most, not the bulkiest pal, but maybe you do want this to just protect your other pals or protect your base. It seems decent. Next up we have Bron Cherry, 7-cost, 1500 power, 3-strike. It is a lucky pal. And then it has the continuous ability. It has Taunt as well. So 1500 power is obviously a lot more threatening than 800 power. So getting past this girl is going to be quite a problem. Just a beefy lady. So on 7, you got this guy, you got this girl on the field. You're gonna swing for 3, so it does 3 power, 3 strike to your opponent, and then it's resting. So now they can't retaliate unless they take this guy out. And 1500 power makes sure that it can survive a good amount of hits, unless you've got Grisbald again, because Grisbald just keeps coming up. That guy is just too strong. 1600 just takes care of everything. And she has an SR version. She's popping out of the frame there. Actually, she's not popping out of the frame, but it is a different art. She's just not big enough to like pop out of the border. And then we have Mammorest, Roar of the Wilds, 8 cost, 2000 power, 4 strike. This is the strongest pal we've seen so far, and it's a lucky pal. It has the auto ability. When this card is put into the graveyard, you get 3 fruit. Just get 3 fruit. Yeah, I mean, 2000 power. What are you gonna do against this? Not even Grisbolt can take this guy out. Imagine that. It's swinging for 4 strike regardless, so it's going to be a threat to the opponent's base at all times. This is just a really massive boy. And it probably has it has an SR version as well, even more massive. I think, like, wow, how are you gonna deal with this? How are you gonna deal with this pal if they just drop it on you on 8? What are you doing? If this had taunt, it would be broken. Guaranteed, it would be broken. It would be absolutely busted. And now we have our first structure. So Berry Plantation, 1 cost structure. It has the act ability once per turn. You can assign 1 pal to get 3 fruit and draw a card, and you can rest your standing pal. Okay. It has the harvesting trait, which we've seen about. Not many things have the harvesting trait, which is important. But if you do, you play this guy. It has 600 durability, just like most 1 cost structure cards, and you just get 3 fruit. We've only seen 1 thing consume fruit for now, but I am certain we'll get more in this list. It also has an SR version. Very nice. The art is different. I can notice that. And then we have Campfire. 3 cost structure. It has Kindling, so you need a fire type pal to assign this card. Once per turn, you can consume 2 fruit. So here we go. Another consumption. Assign 1 pal, gain a life. And you gain 1 life. Wow. Okay, so this card is going to be this is the first card we've covered that can restore life to your base. That is important. Choose all of your pals and they get 1000 power until end of turn. 1100 durability. So you play this. If you have a Kindling pal, you can just assign this, restore 1 life, only once per turn unless you have multiple campfires. And then you also give all of your pals 1000 power. So you can just clear your enemy's board. If they went aggressive towards you last turn, they're all resting now. You can use this to clear up their board and heal a life so that you can recover from that damage that you took. This is a kind of like a recuperation tactic, just to retaliate against your opponent that's kind of going aggressive. It seems like the green cards with the taunt ability and with the massive strength pals is like more defensive, more yeah, definitely more defensive, probably a little bit control-y side so far. Let's see what else we've got. 6 cost, Refined Metal Spear. This is a gear. You act, rest this card, choose a pal, and it gets 900 power to end of turn. So gears are permanent. Once you put them down, they stay on the field. And then each turn, you can rest this card to give any of your pals 900 power. I think this is worth being a 6 cost card, because what this says is that once you have this on the board, once per turn, one of your pals is going to get 900 points stronger. And again, this fits into that control narrative that I was just mentioning, because once your pals are more stronger, they can clear enemy threats easier while staying on the board themselves. So that's why you want a lot of taunts, so that this card can just you can have your taunt guys clear up the enemy board, enemy pals, or their structures, because remember, you can attack structures as well, and then keep those taunts on the board so that your opponent has to deal with them. They can't hit your base. This might be really good. Now we have an event card, 2 cost, Stone Blast. Choose 1 pal and it gets 500 power to end of turn. There's a red card that does the opposite of this. 2 cost to reduce the power of a pal by 500. So this kind of counters that in the opposite direction. If they use this, if they use that red card, I think it's called Ignis Breath, deals you 500. You play this, get that 500 back. It's kind of a silly interaction, but you could do that. Stone Blast. All right, that's it for green. Now we're moving on to purple, and we have, for purple, looks like this is our headliner. Astagon, Aegis Wyvern of Death. That name is just very threatening. 8 cost pal. It's a lucky pal. Our first purple card, 1200 power, 3 strike. So on deploy, you choose up to 1 pal and it gets minus 1000 until the end of turn. It is not put into the graveyard even if power becomes 0 or less. So this ability just proved a very important rule in this game, and that's that even if your pal's power is 0, it doesn't go away. It's just a powerless pal. It stays on the board, which means you can still block with it. However, if you deal something 500, they die. But reducing their power does not kill them, even if it becomes 0. This also means that they can become negative. So if you have a pal that's only 500 and then you play Asagon minus 1,000, they're technically minus 500. So which means that even pals that are 0 can still defeat that pal if it's negative. I think so. We'll see. And then it has auto on attack. This is our first ability we've seen that activates on an attack. You choose all pals with 300 power or less and put them in the put them into the graveyard. Choose your pals too. So this just goes in. This says that once I come into the board, anything you have that's 1300 power is going to be reduced by 1,000 and then killed. This just wipes the board. It's 1200 power, 3 strike. It's not that big for an 8-drop, like power-wise, but it makes up for it in its ability. Just clearing the board and making sure you can just swing in for 3 strike unimpeded for the most part. I think this is a very threatening card. I really like this card, Aegis Astagon. And it does have 3 different rarities. SR popping out of the frame, and then we have, just take a look at this guy for a second. My goodness, if my opponent plays this on me, I might just need to change my pants. This is amazing. This art just says, you're done. I'm playing this guy and you're finished. Man, sorry, just had to admire that for a little bit. Moving on from Astagon, we have Hucrates, Embodiment of Wisdom. 2 cost, 300 power, 1 strike. Again, this is our basic 2 cost pal. This is for the purple version. No effect, of course. Okay. And we have Lee's Punk Treasure Bandit. 3 costs, 200 power, 1 strike, underwhelming stats, but it has auto. When this card is put into the graveyard, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and discards it. This is our first card. This is our first pal that does like hand control for the opponent. I think this is a pretty threatening card. Just forcing them to discard a card. Resources in the hand are going to be very important in this game. I can tell you that right now. So anything that allows you to draw cards or anything that forces your opponent to discard cards from their hand is going to be detrimental. They do get to choose, so it's not a random discard. So they can choose, like, you know, the card that they need the least and just send it away. But just losing a card in general is really strong, especially when you have cards that you want to discard a card in order to activate other things like Interrupt. If you don't have any play points standing, Interrupt, having that in your hand to discard a useless card, is going to be important to save you on your soul cost. This might see a lot of play. In fact, this might be an S tier card. I might do like a tier list for the cards that we've revealed in the future. It does have an SR version as well. And then we have Cognito, 4 cost, 300 power, 2 strike. Looming Shadow. It has a continuous ability Stealth, so this is our first time seeing Stealth. This card cannot be blocked. This is going to be an amazing pal. This ability is fantastic. Mark my words, this is going to be a broken ability. Stealth, just the fact that you can just play this card, doesn't matter what your opponent has on their field as far as pals are concerned, you're just swinging in for 2 strike. They can still interrupt and they can still like pull a lucky pal from their deck, but you're getting rid of 1 barrier to taking out their life. You have 1 barrier is your pals, the enemy pals blocking. Second barrier is interrupt, and the third barrier is the lucky pals. You're just getting rid of that first barrier. Now you only have 2 barriers for Cognito. That's going to be incredible. Very important threat in the future. Then we have Incineram. Lurking Stalker. 5 cost, 900 power, 2 strike. So this is just like Masanda, but this is a regular card. It's not a headliner. This is our 5 cost for purple. It has a bunch of work suitabilities, so I think that's going to be a trend in the future for this card game. Any vanilla that just seems underwhelming is going to have a vast amount of work suitabilities. Look at this. It has kindling, it has crafting, it has collecting, and transporting. Those are all going to be important, especially kindling, that as we've seen with Campfire. So don't sleep on Incineram. That's what I'm saying. Don't sleep on Incineram. Fire Dark Pal. Does it have an SR? It does have an SR version. Look at that. Popping right out of the border there, right in your face. And then we have 6 cost, Blaze Howl Knocked, Dark Flame Defender. Look at this, man. He's just beastly. Fire Dark Pal. Okay, this is our interrupt for the purple set of cards, Kindling and Collecting. This is another Kindling card you might want to keep for your campfire. And again, 900 power, 2 strike. You're not really playing this on the board. You're just keeping it in your hand for the interrupt ability. Protect yourself. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. 7 cost Pal, Felbat, Life Stealer. This is our second lucky Pal. Yeah, the first one was Astagon. It has the continuous ability, Stealth. Oh my goodness. This has Stealth and it has 3 strike. It's expensive. It's a 7 cost Pal, but man, you put this on the board, and then it has auto on attack, gain a life. So you're telling me you're playing this card for 7 cost. You're striking unimpeded by enemy pals. You're just striking their face. Or actually, oh yeah, the on attack ability activates even if you're striking another pal. So you can just play this. You can swing at a pal. It can't be blocked, and then you gain a life regardless. That's incredible. Two ways to gain life. The first one is Campfire, and then Felbat's the second one. This seems like a very sturdy deck. You're gonna want to get this trial deck if you like to stay alive. You like to play the long game, play the tenacity game, and just kind of overwhelm your opponent with your presence as the game goes on. This is gonna be incredible. Felbat, I love this art as well. Does it have an SR? It does have an SR. Look at this guy or girl. And then we have our first structure, Hanging Trap. 2 cost structure, 900 durability. Act. Once per turn, assign a pal. If there are no pals exiled by this card in the exile zone, choose 1 pal and exile it. You can rest your standing pal to assign it. If there are no pals exiled by this card in the exile zone, choose a pal and exile it. Auto, when this card leaves the base, deploy the pal exiled by this card into the owner's base in the rest state. Okay. So you're playing this at 2, and you can just kind of remove an enemy threat from the board until they kill this Hanging Trap. Which, keep in mind, Hanging Trap doesn't have any work suitability. So it looks like any pal can be assigned to this in order to activate its effect. So that's important. You just assign this, and then you just exile something until they kill this Hanging Trap. And then when this is destroyed and the pal comes back, it comes back in the rest state, which means they cannot attack immediately. They have to wait a turn, and also that gives you the opportunity to, on your turn, swing into that pal to just get it out of the way. This might need some practice to see how good this is going to be, but it has promising features so far. The exile zone is very interesting. Then we have our first gear for the purple, Cognito Hat, 4 cost. Oh man. This is okay, so it has Act. Rest this card, choose a pal, and it gets plus 200 and the skill in brackets until end of turn. And then the skill in brackets is a continuous stealth. This card cannot be blocked. Holy moly. What is with this gear? This gear is insane. You're just giving anything stealth. Stealth is a broken ability. Mark my words, you heard it here first from Nico. Stealth is absolutely broken. And this just gives anything stealth until the end of turn, which is all you need. You only need it for 1. You don't need stealth on your opponent's turn. You only need it on your turn. So you just give something stealth, your opponent, now you don't care about blocking. You're just swinging in. And if they introduce more effects that kind of do a on-attack ability like the Felbat that heals, man, this is going to be a really important card. Cognito Hat. Whoo, that's good. That's scarily good. Then we have another event card. Our first event for the purple. Strike from the Darkness. 4 cost event. Choose a pal and put it into the graveyard. You're just killing a pal. This might be really important if your opponent has like something like a Mammorest. You can just take it out with 1 shot without having to trade a bunch of pals into it. Yeah, pretty standard event card. It has an SR version, very nice. Medical supplies, 7 cost. Choose one 8 costs or less pal from your graveyard and deploy it in the rest state. That's cool. It's kind of like you just reviving a pal from your graveyard specifically. Yep. And just putting it into the rest state. So that's important to keep in mind. Whatever you revive with this is going to be rested, so it cannot attack or it can't be assigned to something. This is just bringing back something so that it could be a threat on the next turn. But if it can easily be answered by your opponent on their turn. So there's going to be a tricky timing when to use this. It might seem very powerful on paper, and it is very powerful, but you can't use it recklessly. Otherwise, your opponent's just going to read you, and he's just going to answer you, and then you're just going to waste this event card. So you're going to have to use some strategy for this card. And then we have, okay, so we're done with green. We're done with purple. Now we've got our colorless cards, starting with Kativa, my first pal. Fan favorite pal. It has continued. It's a 2 cost, 200 power, 1 strike, so it is a little underwhelming, just like the land ball in the last set. This card cannot be attacked by 3 costs or less pals. If you play this on the early game, you're pretty much ensuring that this card is not going anywhere until like a few turns later, right? Because it can't be attacked by anything that's 3 or less, which means your opponent has to play a 4-drop, which they can't do until their second turn if you're going first, right? I bet it has an SR. It does. Very nice. Kativa. We love Kativa. And then we have Chickapee. We also love Chickapee. So Chickapee, 2 costs, 200 power, 1 strike. Same stats as Kativa. It has significantly less work suit abilities, but it does have the auto ability. When this card is put into the graveyard, you get a fruit. So you probably only want to use this in a green deck, just like Rib Bunny. When it's put into the graveyard, it gets a wood. I think that's what it is. You get a wood, just like this. This Chickapee is just Rib Bunny for the fruit. Get a fruit. And then we have an SR, Chickapee. Wow, look at that boy. Look at that big boy. And then, all right, that's it. Now we've officially gone through red and blue and green and purple, both trial decks for the Palworld TCG. These cards look amazing. I'm so excited for them to come out in a few more weeks. Again, July 30th is when it releases worldwide. Japan, America, UK, every country is getting these cards at the same time, which means we're all going to start off on the same foot. So let's make sure we hit the ground running. Thanks for watching. My name's Nico. Subscribe and like for more. We're going to be covering more content for Palworld TCG, and I'll see you then. Thanks.